All right. Welcome to RotoWire's 2025 U.S. Open Preview Show. I'm Lauren Jump, and I'm joined today by our golf crew, Len Hochberg, Ryan Andrade, and Kevin O'Brien. Before we dive in, we do want to dedicate this episode to our friend and colleague, Anthony Servino. RotoWire's NFL analyst and SEO whiz, very passionate voice in this space, and just someone who always found a way to remind me and everyone how cool our jobs really are. We miss him deeply and wish his family the best. Now,
here.
Yep. The third major of the year is here, and we're heading to Oakmont Country Club for the 125th playing of the U.S. Open. So this place has hosted more championships than any other course in the U.S., and it's back in the spotlight for the first time since 2016. So to start, I have a trivia question for the panel here, and anyone listening. By the way, feel free to submit any questions you want answered, and we'll be sure to get to them. So here's the trivia question. Ready? Okay, the USGA accepted a record number of entries for this year's U.S. Open. Any guesses on how many?
1,100.
Over 10,000. Like 10,100 something.
4,000.
Len wins. It's 10,202. All right, one more try.
Okay.
One more try for redemption.
Just a little bit off.
Pretty darn close.
Yeah, you were pretty close, Len. You were close. So how many players were in the field for the very first U.S. Open? It was in 1885, Newport Country Club, Rhode Island. What do we think?
48.
I should know that, but I don't know. I'm going to say 19.
I'm going to say 65.
Okay, the answer is 11.
Oh,
Len wins again.
Wow, Len. All right. So you're kicked out. Sorry, bye.
We got to figure out when the actual U.S. Open start, because that doesn't count. I mean, that's like a quarter of a live field. I mean, what are we doing here?
Hey, with the equipment was harder to use, right? So they didn't have Pro V1s like falling out there in the field. So
Illegal drivers.
Well, let's get to it, guys. So we have some top storylines to start with. Of course, Bryson's the first one. We know Scotty's number one in the world, but can Bryson come back and go back to back? Can anyone really contend with Scotty? What are we thinking here, Len? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think he can. I think he's clearly the number two guy now in the minds of a lot of people, and certainly in the betting market. He has overtaken Rory McIlroy in the last few days and is the number two betting choice, as McIlroy's struggles recently have moved him back. Very interestingly, Bryson DeChambeau spoke at his pre-tournament news conference today and discussed his strategy and said he would not be going the bomb and gouge route that he used at Winged Foot in 2020. I think a lot of people thought he might go that way. But what we've seen from Bryson DeChambeau in those 5 years since winning it at the U.S. Open at Winged Foot, he's become a much more complete player. We've seen that he's figured out how to play the Masters. You can't bomb and gouge at the Masters. A lot of these courses, Oakmont included, certainly Augusta, you have to take only what the golf course will give you. And he's learned that Augusta, which is why he's contended the last couple of years. I think he knows that this week at Oakmont. I think he will use his length to a huge advantage, but not to a penal situation where he lands up in the rough too much of the time. So I do like his chances, and it'll be fascinating to see the way he plays the course this week.
All right. Can't wait to see what happens. So let's talk Rory. It's been over a decade since his first U.S. Open win. He's had heartbreak at this course before, kind of some struggles as of late after the Masters. Ryan, can he finally close one out here? What do you think?
Yeah, it's weird. Like this is as many question marks around Rory McIlroy entering a major championship that I can really ever remember. I think a lot of people thought that, okay, now he's completed the career Grand Slam. He's ended that long major drought of 11 years. Maybe the pressure's off and he can just sort of freewheel it. But, he's sort of self-admitted that he's had some trouble finding motivation, because he's basically accomplished all that you can in the game at this point. So, I think that's something that he's battling through right now. The other, more on the physical side is the driver. That was a big storyline at Quail Hollow, that it was reported that he had his driver thrown out. He couldn't use the one that he had been using to so much success recently, and it was leaked by the media, and he was the only guy that really got it leaked by the media. And as a result, he didn't speak to the media at all while he was at Quail Hollow. Ended up finishing T47, not something anyone really saw coming at really his best course. And then last week teased it up in the Canadian Open and just shot a million basically. So lot of issues there for sure. But I mean, if you look at his US Open record, it's as good as anyone of late. 6 straight top 10 finishes. We all know how close he came a year ago at Pinehurst to winning. So, Oakmont fits him great on paper, but, definitely some things that he's got to get sorted out before he tees it up on Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, outside of the big names, who's flying under the radar heading into Oakmont besides Phil Mickelson? Kevin, can you give us some insight there?
Yeah, there'll be a few guys that I'll touch on a little bit further down the board when we get to them. And so I can't call this a true sleeper, of course, but I mean, everyone's talking about the 3 names that have come up already. And it seems a guy who's been a little forgotten about is Xander Schauffele. I mean, he's got two majors under his belt now. He's a made man. He's going to be contending in every major, regardless of his form or the course or whatnot. This tournament, he's just flat out dominated. He's been in 8 U.S. Opens, 7 top 10s. He's got a top 5 in half of those, and he's never finished worse than 14th. So, I mean, if we're looking for an opportunity for him to get back on track here, I think this is a perfect one for him. And he'll be trying to make the talk about a big 3 turning into a big 4 heading into the Open Championship.
Oh, I like it. Good stuff. All right. Well, let's break down the course, Len, if you don't mind. We know it's not an easy one. So tell us a little bit about Oakmont and what should fans and fantasy players and bettors know about it?
Yeah, it might very well be the toughest course these guys have ever played and ever will play. In fact, in 2016, before the U.S. Open, the last time the U.S. Open was at Oakmont, Phil Mickelson said that the golf course was the hardest one that these guys play. I don't think anything's changed in the last 9 years. Daniel Berger had a great tweet way back in 2016 in the early days of Twitter when he said the rough at Oakmont was like rough on steroids. There are a lot of things to talk about at Oakmont, but I think we have to start with the rough. It's 5 inches tall and very, very thick. The course is long. The fairways are narrow, 28 yards on average, with as small as 22 yards. And if you miss the fairway, you are in the 5 inches of rough. There's been a lot of talk this week about what's more important, length or accuracy off the tee. I think it's really imperative to get the ball in the fairway. Even when there is no rough in the fairway or by the fairway, the golfers will see bunkers. On number 1, which was the hardest hole on the course in 2016, there are 11 fairway bunkers. There are 168 bunkers on this course, which is almost 10 per hole and more than 10 on number 1. And then you finally get onto the green. The greens are enormous, 8,500 square feet, maybe the biggest greens we'll see all year. But most importantly, they are super, super fast, over 14, close to 15 on the stimp meter. This is the proverbial, you will need every club in your bag. I don't think, Oakmont will identify anyone who has a weakness, and you have to be able to play all facets of the game. And just one little fun factoid about Oakmont, my favorite factoid, is that the architect of the course back in 1903, Henry Founds, this is the only course he ever designed. That's a hell of a first try. I mean, it's like if you were a painter and what painting have you done? Well, I've just done one, the Mona Lisa. Have you heard of it? It's just amazing that this is his one-off, and it is just one of the jewels, and it is the top jewel in the U.S. Open rotation.
All right. Well, it's definitely going to be a grind for everyone out there. So let's get into some DFS talk. Lineups with DraftKings. Let's look at the value tiers. We're going to start in the $10,000 range. Len, you want to just keep it rolling?
Yeah, I think, we're going to talk about two guys, or I'm going to talk about two guys we've already talked about. Scheffler's at 14-4. If we're talking DraftKings here, and we are, and you would think I'd get Scotty Scheffler in my lineup. Well, I'm not going to be able to field 5 other guys. But it's really incredible. There are only 24 other guys. If you let me back up and say that if you pick Scotty Scheffler, the other 5 guys are going to average $7,121, $120, 71.20. And you think, well, how am I going to get 5 guys there? There are only 24 guys in the field priced over $7,100. Most of the guys are in the 6s and 5s. There are almost half the field is in the 5,000s. So you absolutely can field a lineup if you put Scotty Scheffler at the head of your lineup. Very doable. And if you go to Bryson DeChambeau, you're saving thousands of dollars right there. I think Rory is a little bit of a question mark. I wouldn't go to him. I'm not as big on Rahm, although Rahm certainly is a consideration this week. But I do like DeChambeau, and if you do use DeChambeau in your lineup, you can get some other quality guys in your lineup. If you wanted to go Scheffler or DeChambeau as the head of your lineup, I couldn't quibble with you either way.
I love that. Very well said, Len. Let's move into the $8,000 to $9,000 range. Kevin, what do you got for us there?
You're muted, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
There are only
All good.
there are only 8 or 9. Excuse me. There are only 9 guys. It threw me off there with that mute. In the $8,000 to $9,000 range. So that backs up that stars and scrubs approach really well. I think a lot of the guys here just have a lot of question marks to begin with, and I don't know if I'd want to consider picking them anyway. The one guy, if you've heard me on previous shows, Ludwig Oberg, he's coming up again here. The last 2 majors, he was 10,800, which, probably a little bit too hefty based on especially how it worked out. This time, he's down to 9,600. So that's a pretty significant savings. He still remains a lead off the tee. Posted a T12 in his U.S. Open debut last year. So a couple things to like about him. Last one, I just, I want to mention it. I don't feel great about him because obviously it hasn't been the greatest of seasons for Hideki Matsuyama. But he is right at the bottom of the list there at $8,000, and he's made 13 of 16 cuts this year and hasn't missed a U.S. Open cut since 2016. So if you're looking to get all 6 of your guys to the weekend, he's going to be a nice option for you.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good one. All right. Well, Ryan, do you want to give us some value picks? Maybe people under 7,500 mark?
Yeah, for sure. I think, Len made a great point as well. If you're looking at it, the betting market says Scotty Scheffler is a heavy favorite. DraftKings, the DFS pricing agrees with it. He made a great point at 7,100 basically for your last 5 guys. And I really think there's a ton of great options in the lower 7K range, upper 6K range that really, I did one earlier and I was able to get 5 other guys with Scotty that all ranked inside the top 30 of the data golf rankings. So there's plenty of really good options down there for sure. One of them that I definitely like is Keegan Bradley, 7,400. I think this is the perfect type of course for him. He's 3rd in strokes gained tee to green this season. And he was T8 at the PGA. He was T7 at Memorial, 2 other very tough courses recently. Harris English, a little bit further down than that, 6,700. He's another guy that's great on difficult golf courses. He won at Torrey Pines earlier this year, T2 at Quail Hollow. He's finished top 8 in 3 of the last 5 U.S. Opens, including 4th at Wingfoot, which I think has a lot of similarities to what the setup will be this week at Oakmont. So 2 guys there. The 5K range is a little bit more sketchy than I thought it was, like at the PGA Championship, for example. But if you want to go way down there, Chris Goddard, 5,400. 5 top 20s in his last 8 starts, one of the longest hitters on the PGA Tour, and has been making big strides in the short game as well.
Wow, good stuff. Thank you, guys. Those are great picks. Don't forget, you can find our full DFS breakdowns and articles up on our website right now. and lots of other content there, including Len's power rankings, which we've said this before, but they truly are amazing. So if you're playing any fantasy contest or betting or doing any picks, those can help you for whatever you're up to. So with that, let's get on to some betting picks. We have our outrights. So why don't we just start there? Len, you want to just toss one out for us?
Well, I think everyone is wondering whether you could play Scotty Scheffler. Was he about 4-1, depending on where you look right now, and Bryson DeChambeau plus 750. I'm going to move beyond those guys. I think people can make their own decisions about those guys, and there's been, well reported what their options are there. But a couple of guys farther down, and I think that we can go about 12 or 15 deep, maybe, to really think of anyone who could possibly win this tournament. I mean, I know a lot of people think we can only go one deep, but let's go a little bit deeper. And Tommy Fleetwood at 35-1 catches my eye. One of the things about Tommy Fleetwood I like, not the fact that he's never won a PGA Tour event, but that he's good at every discipline. There isn't one area that he really stands out as elite, but there also isn't an area where he is really is a real weakness. And it wouldn't surprise me at all one of these days, one of these years, if Tommy Fleetwood's first PGA Tour win comes in a major. He's had top 5 times in the U.S. Open. It's a well-suited situation for him. And the other guy, now at 55-1, going the other way, because I saw him at 50-1 earlier this week, is Patrick Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay, we know, has never won a major. His buddy Xander finally broke through last year. He's finished top 15 in the last 4 majors, and I don't think anyone remembers that Patrick Cantlay finished 3rd last year at the U.S. Open, because I don't think anyone remembers Rory McIlroy, but Patrick Cantlay was next, and he's had some top 5s this year. He's another guy, doesn't have a real weakness in his game whatsoever.
All right. Ryan, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I think if you're looking outright here, I think a guy with really good value that honestly, the only guys that are playing better than him of late are probably Scotty Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, the guy I'm looking at is Ben Griffin, plus 7,000, T8 at the PGA, won Colonial, 2nd at the Memorial, gave Scheffler everything he possibly could. All of those, some of the toughest courses on the PGA Tour. He's excelling in all areas. And honestly, I get sort of a lot of Wyndham Clark 2023 vibes out of him. Both those guys that year had some good finishes early in the season. They won on a tough golf course in May. And then, Wyndham a couple years ago at LACC won the US Open there. So I think, Ben Griffin is kind of on that same trajectory. I think if you're looking, if you want to do a couple placement bets, Maverick McNeely for a top 5 finish. He's coming off a T5 at Memorial, which I think is going to be a very similar setup to, Oakmont. Really thick rough, really penal rough, but really, really fast green. So, if a guy did well at Memorial, they're probably going to do pretty well at Oakmont. And he's got 4 top 5s in his last 11 starts. When he's playing well, he's getting really high finishes. So I like that value there.
All right. All right, Kevin, what do you got for us?
All right. Well, I mean, we talked a lot of crap about him so far, but Rory is listed at 12-1. Last time around it was way less than that, and I kind of mentioned why I like Bryson then, because he was essentially double the price of the other 2 guys. And now it's kind of flipped, with the Rory being well behind Bryson and Scotty as well. After he won the Masters, there was talk, hey, is he going to win every single major this year? And so that wasn't that long ago. So think about that 78 last Friday as just a way to earn you a few more bucks. And the next guy I listed too was Corey Connors. He's a guy that people have liked in majors for a long time, thanks to his ball striking, of course, and he's putting it better this year. Finished top 25 or better in 4 straight majors, so time could be right for him as well.
Well, Kevin, just so you know, Rory did admit to shooting an 81 in practice recently. So I
did see that.
I don't know if that will affect you or not, but he did say he needs to get his stuff together. But he also said that he is traveling the world with his daughter because he wants her to see cool stuff. So I don't know.
All right, what's cooler than winning again at the U.S. Open?
Right.
I love it. All right, so just a note for all the bettors out there. 7 of the past 8 U.S. Open winners ranked top 10 in strokes per green, tee to green entering the week. So keep that in mind. I don't know if I said that right, but we're good. Strokes gained, tee to green. There we go. All right, so let's do our draft now, guys. I don't think, are we going to show it or we just talk about it?
I think we can just attach it later.
Okay,
I
so
can, yeah.
I didn't use Lens Power Rankings this time, but I studied them previously. It's like you got to use them when you can. But we did a 8-round snake draft. What is it? The top? How many? Was it 4 scores or that was the Masters?
Yeah, top 4 scores every round. So we did eight total rounds, so we all got 8 golfers, and then top 4 each day. Go to your score. Me and Lauren, I think, tied at the Masters when we did this, and I think Kevin took it at the PGA because he had the first pick and he got Scotty. So you know how
barely,
easy is that?
Though, barely.
That helps.
Okay, well, I got to be the first pick this time, so I took Scotty, which, I mean, it just feels like, Christmas morning every time that happens. Just, it's good. So that's where I started. And then, I don't even have it up. Let's see.
I was going to complain about the order, and then I realized this is the order of our rankings in our one and done league at RotoWIre. So I was like, well, it's probably fair,
It all comes full circle to the first show.
Oh, you're saying I'm ranked the highest because I'm in 3rd place.
Yeah, you had a winner last week, didn't you?
I did. Ryan Fox, my boy, came through. That's probably my best pick of all time. So I'm pretty happy. And I'm the only one who picked him in our one and done. Like, there's nothing better than that.
Of course.
So we'll see. Wow. Now, I jinxed myself quite a bit following that. So I expect to fall flat on my face. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. So Scotty was number 1. What was the crazy number 2 pick?
Yeah, Bryson was number 2. That was a little easier decision than some majors, but
that's fair. Mm-hmm. Except I thought you were betting on Rory, so what's up?
Yeah, it doesn't mean betting on him to win this contest.
Yeah,
I'm the one. Our picks, people.
I am the one that got stuck with Rory this time. I had a tough decision there. I was between Rory and Rahm, and the track record that Rory's had at the U.S. Open is hard to look away from, even though, the recent struggles. But I think my team overall, I took Xander in the 2nd round here as well. I kind of reached for Ben Griffin in the 4th round. Hatton. There were some guys on here that I think I probably reached for a little bit, but I think I could see myself easily finishing last, but I think like this team might have the highest upside of any of them. So we'll just see how it goes.
All right. And then number 3.
I ended up with Rahm and Morikawa. I was 4th in the snake and came around and had those 2. And I do like Morikawa, and I wanted to talk briefly about Morikawa. He's not a long hitter. A lot of people think that might be a detriment this weekend, and it is. It is a little bit of a detriment. But, back in 2016, there were a lot of guys in the 2016 U.S. Open who are shorter hitters, and 3 of them finished 2nd behind Dustin Johnson: Jim Furyk and Shane Lowry and Scott Piercy. And there were some other really short hitters who were finished very high up. So I would tell people not to be afraid of the shorter hitter as long as they can keep it in the fairway. And another guy I picked later was Russell Henley, a very short hitter, but a very accurate hitter. And I like that. I'm going to be a little bit nervous taking guys who can hit the ball a ton, but can't keep it in the fairway. That said, later in the draft, I took Min Woo Lee. and he is a concern, but I thought the upside is really, really strong there. I think I ended up with Minwoo Lee. I wanted to take him.
You did. Yeah.
Trying to remember. And but he has trouble keeping the ball in the fairway, and he has to know that he has to keep the ball in the fairway this week. So I'm hoping he takes a little bit something off the gas, because once from 100 yards and in, he's great with his wedge and great with his putter.
Well, one of my last picks was Matt Fitzpatrick. What do we think about him this week, guys? I mean, is he having a little bit of a bounce back, or is he just going to fall again?
Well, I mean, he's kind of come around a little bit, right? He definitely struggled early in the year, I'd say, but you look at Matt Fitzpatrick. He was T8 at the PGA. He sort of righted the ship, I'd say, with his approach play a little bit. That was a big struggle for him earlier in the year, but he's another guy he's not even like sneaky long anymore. People used to say that he's just kind of long now. So if that should certainly help him. The more club head speed out of the rough, I think club head speed is going to be important, not just off the tee, but out of the rough. So yeah, I mean, won the US Open a few years ago, so could be a nice pick.
Yeah, I thought the last two guys that were selected too were also intriguing, kind of guys that I like on top 10 bets. One of those was me with Cameron Young, and the other one was Lauren with Denny McCarthy.
Yeah, I was excited.
They both.
To me. I didn't think I'd get him.
I had him typed in and then flipped it to Cameron Young. So good pick.
Surely
they
you
both.
won't regret it.
Yeah, right. Both those guys just make a lot of cuts. I mean, Cameron Young has 5 career top 10s in majors. It's been a while since he's been in this spot. But what better time than now?
Last week showed signs of life for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, McCarthy definitely has a good chance. I feel like he's just been like kind of like consistent overall, nothing like super spectacular. But as the last pick, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's done well at the US Open before, and his results have been pretty decent this year. So I don't know, kind of have a good feeling about him. So we'll see what happens there. Any other players, like we're talking one and done, and I'm curious, you guys too, like we're all in the same one and done pool. There's about 40 of us in that one. Have you been using Live Guys? I think we mostly all use Bryson. I'm not sure.
I'm saving him I've been saving him all year for this week. I wanted to use him here. Thought it was a great fit. So I think most of the majority of our league has used him at either the Masters or the PGA. So hoping to make up some ground from him. Hopefully it's on an off week. He's finished top 5 in his last last 6. Oh, he's got 5 top 6 finishes in his last 6 majors. So he's always been up there recently, and I think another thing that doesn't get talked about with DeChambeau and why he's so good out of the rough is because he hits a driver and he's got let's say an 8 or 9 iron in. He's got single length irons. These 8 and 9 irons, these short irons are longer than most other guys, and he's able to generate more club head speed, which I think really helps him out when he does have to play out of the rough. So that's another reason I think Bryson is a good play for a course like this.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean, the Live Guys obviously it's the only time we can pick them, but it's kind of I feel like so trapped by that option sometimes, like it really limits it when you look at it that way. And then there's probably going to be a bunch of other people also doing that, which, I mean, last week, again, I took Ryan Fox. I was the only one, and like that gave me a huge advantage. But if he had missed the cut, that would have sucked. So it just like really just depends. It's, I guess, pretty hard to do this, but it's fun. So it's got to keep it.
I've tried to use that strategy. I used it last year and at the first 2 majors this year, but I don't know if there's like 4 slam dunk options anymore to do it all year.
Well, we know Len's going to be using Joaquin Niemann because that's his favorite player.
Actually, I went with Rahm this week. I think I burned.
Oh.
Scared him away.
All right, Len, you stole my pick. I think me and Len have made the same pick like way too many times at this point. And it's not, I didn't read his stuff until after, so Maybe we just think
Well,
alike.
Lynn is buried at the bottom, and you're up in third, so you must be clicking
Well,
on the
last
right
weekend
ones
was
in the
very
right week.
stressful. I couldn't even watch because every time I looked up, it would be a bad thing that would happen for Ryan. So then it was just like, okay, I just have to listen but not look. I hate being that superstitious, but it worked. So he might need to thank me for turning my back every time he was taking a shot. I don't know.
All right,
I
same
mean, you
thing
never
this
know. That
week.
could have changed like the whole vibes of what was happening. So you're welcome.
Please do that for Rory this week, then.
I
Yeah.
don't know about Rory. Well, okay, so 1 and done. I'm excited. Yep. Hopefully I can hold on to my third place right now, and we'll see. Any other players, any other bold predictions, guys, or things like Phil? No one wants to take Phil for anything. Come on. This is his last US Open, they're saying.
Yeah, that I was sort of thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, he's never won the US Open before, so he doesn't have that. The 5-year exemption he gets from winning the PGA will be done next year. So yeah, I didn't really realize that, but I mean, I guess hopefully maybe he can make a cut. I think he's
That'd be cool.
55, 56 now, so we'll see. But as far as some bold predictions here, I'm saying only 4 players finish under par this week.
Wow.
I think 6 under par is going to be the winning score. It's been the winning score 4 out of the last 5 years, if you can believe it. So I think I definitely think it's going to be a big challenge, but I think there'll be a couple players that are able to separate themselves. And I think we also get at least 1 slow play penalty this week. Not sure who it will be from, but just the way this course set up, you can barely see some of the ball if you're standing right over it in this rough. It's crazy, and the greens are being prepped to run as fast as humanly possible, basically. So it's going to be a real slog Thursday and Friday and threesomes. It's going to be some really, really long rounds. So yeah, somebody's going to get dinged at some point.
Well, I read a stat that said like back in the 2000 US Open, Tiger had 2 bogey-free rounds, and like all the other players, I think there was like 155-ish. They all combined for 1 bogey-free round. So just
That
like
could be Scotty this week.
Yeah, I mean it's nuts. I mean, Scotty's at that point, right? I mean, we'll see.
I
It's
mean,
kind of
at a
annoying.
certain point, he keeps doing it.
That's my only prediction, is that he's going to win again, and I'm going to headline Len's article, Scotty Bodies Oakmont, coming Monday.
You already picked it out. Just waiting on it.
Yeah. Well, I think we might have lost Len, but
Len is 1 and done, apparently.
Len's got all the good intel, but yeah, we appreciate his rankings. Again, please go check them out. And also, if you're not a RotoWire subscriber, guys, we do have like a ton of like really great tools and stats and rankings, all this stuff, especially for upcoming NFL season, if you're into that. I'm not just saying that, like we really do have amazing content and like tools. So subscribe to RotoWire. We do have promo codes that can get you 15% off, Roto15 right now, or Twitter 15. They both work to get that for you. So please think about doing it. And otherwise, we will be back, for the final major this year, right, guys?
Open Championship in a month, Northern Ireland.
I think we might try to do something more fun this time. We haven't planned it yet. So if you guys have any ideas, like definitely tell us, but we'll see. We're going to come up with something good. So stay tuned. Otherwise, thank you so much, and we will see you next time.